Most people are very uncomfortable with rejection. So if you can become comfortable with that, I'm telling you, you can get ahead of anyone that you might be competing with. This is one of the most important lessons that you're going to hear. It applies to sales, it applies to business, it applies to life, it applies to government contracting. And a lot of you are not going to like what I'm about to say. You need to become comfortable hearing the word no and pushing through it. This is critical in how you are going to approach selling to the government, selling to other businesses, selling to consumers. Hearing no, this is just part of sales. Doesn't matter how good you are, you have got to be able to sell whatever the expertise is that you have cultivated. And the way I approach my business is I am looking for as many people to tell me no as I can squeeze into the day. This applies to selling my consulting services, my training to businesses and consumers, but it also applies to the government. I can tell you, I've sold more to the government without writing a single proposal using the no strategy. Okay, so what's the no strategy? This is very simple. This is, I want to get out of my comfort zone, get out from behind the desk, meet with people, talk with people on the phone, send emails, directly engage with people, and ask them for the sale. Oh, Rick, I can't do that. I can't just reach out to contracting officers. Well, let's talk about government contracting. As an account executive, one of my clients hired me to sell software for them at one point. All I would do, my entire strategy, is I would pick up the phone and I would call the government offices that bought that software. And I would ask them, are you having any problems with the software? How is it performing? So I'm not calling with a hard, hey, I want you to buy this. I'm calling with, hey, I'm just looking to give you an update. I'm just looking to get an update. I want to make sure that you're satisfied with what you're using. And most of the time, oh yeah, Rick, it's awesome. Works great. Or hey, we could use some help troubleshooting this one thing. Okay, great. Well, now I'm going to help them troubleshoot that one thing, right? I'm going to reach out again the next month. Hey, I know we met, we troubleshot everything. Want to make sure everything's going smoothly. Yeah, Rick, it is. Great. Do you guys need any more? No, Rick, we've got it. Okay, good. I got my no, right? I might get no 8 more times that year before I start getting a yes. So I'm looking to get as many no's as possible because eventually I'm going to get a yes. I mean, here's the thing that you may not be thinking about is eventually you reach out enough, people are going to reach back out to you and ask. And this happened more often than me reaching out saying, hey, do you want to buy some software? Do you want to buy our services? No, Rick, we're all set. No, Rick, we're all set. But 2 weeks later, I might get, hey, you know what? Rick, just something turned out, we need some licenses. If you end up on my email list, and those of you watching know who you are, you probably know that we are relentless. I'm trying to provide value, but I'm not going to stop. So you need to get used to hearing no, because the no's could turn into yeses. And really what we're talking about is getting comfortable asking people for the sale, getting comfortable asking people if they have a problem that you can help them solve. And maybe that's a better way to frame it. I think many of you will probably be more comfortable thinking about it this way, which is, hey, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, I help companies sell to the government. I help cybersecurity companies sell to the government. I just wanted to see if you wanted any help optimizing your current approach to government contracting. Hey, Mrs. So-and-so, can see you have a great cybersecurity business here, and just wanted to let you know that the average cybersecurity small business makes $2.7 million selling to the federal government. I couldn't see any contracts under your name. Just wanted to see if you wanted to have a conversation about how your small business could potentially sell to the government and also obtain a woman-owned small business certification in the process. Happy to set up a call if you want to discuss. That's a simple email that you would be surprised how often it works. get comfortable with no. Where I kind of got this, by the way, is I was still in the military, so I wasn't selling anything. And in fact, I got a book here that some of you may have read. This is by someone named Jocko Willink. And Jocko is a Navy SEAL, right? So I was an aviator for about half of my career, and then acquisitions for the last half of my career. So putting companies on contract for the government. Now, both of those things are pretty different from what Jocko was doing as a Navy SEAL. And I remember I had a very difficult 1 year remote is the deployment. That's what we call it, at least in the Air Force, where we take a 1 year assignment away from our family. It's going to be a location that's usually less than desirable, that your family cannot accompany you on. Typically, if you volunteer for something like this, you could choose, where you would land afterwards, meaning your next location. I needed to keep my family in Boston, so I volunteered for this 1 year remote. Very difficult and challenging 1 year, just due to the different things that we were managing there. But I remember it was a particularly rough period. I got this book, and one of the sections in here, Jocko labels as good. It's his philosophy that he calls good. And I'm just going to read a couple sentences of this, and then I'm going to tell you how this applied, and I turned this into the no strategy. How do I deal with setbacks, failures, delays, defeats, and other disasters? I actually have a fairly simple way of dealing with these situations, summed up in one word: good. Now, he goes on to say he had somebody in his unit that would present to him, I'm assuming Jocko was in a leadership position here, they would present different problems that their troops were experiencing, and every time they would give him the problem, he'd say, good. That would be his response. And he gives some examples of that. I'll just read a couple of them. Oh, the mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. We can keep it simple. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. See where he's going here. So he's basically taking every defeat, which all of those things are basically a no, right? He's taking the no and turning that into a positive. In some cases, he's saying, look, you got that no because you just weren't good enough, right? Or, hey, maybe you got that no because there was no funding available. Maybe you got that no because the way you wrote it up was just not as competitive as somebody else's, right? I took this quite literally, actually, while I was in the military, but once I left and started my own business, I applied this absolutely to sales. It could be easy to say, hey, I don't want to send out an email campaign that has 200 people on it because I can't deal with that kind of rejection. Or, oh, Rick, I've heard this a lot. Hey, Rick, I just hate selling. I don't want to come off as too salesy. I can't really reach out to people on LinkedIn because, I'm just not comfortable with that. Oh, call somebody? Cold call? Are you kidding? Would I actually have to talk to somebody on the other line, knock on the door, right? Which there's not a lot of just door knocking in government contracting, but you get my point, which is you have to put yourself in a vulnerable or an uncomfortable position sometimes when you're looking for the no. And I look at every single no as a positive. In fact, to the point where I am going for as many of those no's as I could possibly get. I want people to say, not only to say no, I want them to say, are you kidding me? I will challenge them. Like, are you kidding me? Did you really have the guts? I was going to say something different. To send me an email that said that? Did you really have the guts to post that on LinkedIn? I invite people to just lash out at me. Like, oh, that was like, what were you thinking? How could you do that? But at the end of the day, that very rarely happens. Very rarely happens. Because if you are trying to legitimately help people and you write honestly, if you reach out honestly with, hey, this is an opportunity, I can help you get there. Here's the goal. You have a problem you want to solve. I can help you solve it. This is what that looks like. You may have to interrupt what they're doing in order to get their attention. We live in a very crowded place right now with social media, with all of the YouTube videos that are out there, with the emails and everyone's competing for attention. But here's really your advantage. Most people are very uncomfortable with rejection. So if you can become comfortable with that, I'm telling you, you can get ahead of anyone that you might be competing with just by picking up the phone. So few people will actually pick up the phone and call the person on the other end. That goes for contracting officers in the government. This goes for businesses that may want to buy your services. If you're willing to get comfortable with that, you can beat out everybody else, because at the end of the day, with all of the marketing and the strategies and everything else, proposal writing, you've got all this noise coming at you. At the end of the day, it's relationships that are going to help you build your business. It's going to help you build your government contracting business, because there are people on the other side of that government divide, right? Going to help you build your business if you're selling B2B, because there's people on the other side in those businesses. Same thing if you're selling B2C, like you're selling directly to people, right? So you can't build a relationship if you're not communicating with them. And although every communication does not have to be an ask, meaning a sale, some of them should be. So you got to get used to getting in front of people, and you may have to interrupt them. Okay, so what you really need to ask yourself, what level of interruption are you okay with? If the idea of cold calling someone right now is setting you back on your feet, your heels a little bit, and making you really uncomfortable, okay, well, how about just sending an email to a person that you don't know? You could start with that, and you don't have to be salesy, and you probably shouldn't be. Or reaching out, connecting with somebody on LinkedIn, and maybe offering something of value to them. Those are great places to start, and to start kind of pushing the boundary of what you feel comfortable with. I can tell you the progress that I went through from being, really careful about sending an email to somebody and letting them know about my services, to the point where I was comfortable managing email campaigns that were sending thousands of emails out at a time. You need to become comfortable with that. And it may not happen overnight, but I would start with something simple and start working your way up to the point where you may want to be requesting meetings. With the government, you have more of a formal process. With businesses, it's a little bit less formal. You can request meetings. You can request Zoom calls. This is all pretty natural stuff. So the point, get comfortable with no. Challenge yourself. Like maybe tomorrow, I'm going to, and this is something that I do, I want 5 people to tell me no today. You might have to work for those no's. And my best bet is that if you spend a couple weeks challenging yourself to get 5 no's every day, you're going to get probably a hell of a lot of yeses. And by the way, this is the separator. This is what separates failed businesses from good businesses. It's the ability to sell your product or solution. Only way to do it is to get it in front of people that can buy it. The only way to get it in front of people that could buy it is to interrupt what they're doing somehow. Email marketing, phone call, social media, a video, a letter. Why not? You can send them a letter if you don't want to do anything else. Get that no. You get enough no's, you're going to start getting yeses. And that's it. That's all I got for you. My biggest ask of you is, if you got any useful information out of this video, just write no in the comments. I just want to see a bunch of no's. No, 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 capital no, multiple no's. Put them all in there.